All right, today we're diving into a really tense psychological thriller from Dostoevsky. And this is a story about a man whose past, it doesn't just haunt him from afar, no. It shows up, completely uninvited, right on his doorstep in the middle of the night.
So, what does happen when your past refuses to stay buried? Let's dive right in. We're stepping into the world of a man named Velchaninov, and trust me, he is about to find out the answer to that very question in the most terrifying way you can imagine.
So, let's meet our protagonist, a guy named Alexei Ivanovich Velchaninov. Now, on the surface, everything looks pretty good. He's successful, he's in his late 30s, living in St. Petersburg. But underneath all that, yeah, his life is completely, totally unraveling.
I mean, picture this. He's stuck in the sweltering heat of the city, and he's just consumed by this lawsuit that's going nowhere. He can't sleep, he's become a total hypochondriac, convinced he's sick with something, and he's got this awful feeling that he's become old and weak way before his time, like his vitality is just evaporated.
And here's where things start to get really weird. It's not just his present life that's falling apart. No, his past is actively invading his mind. We're talking about memories he thought were buried for good, suddenly bubbling up to the surface with this terrifying, painful clarity.
And believe me, these aren't happy memories we're talking about. He's remembering these awful things he did, like humiliating a defenseless old man just for kicks, or spreading lies about an innocent woman, abandoning another. These are things that, back then, probably felt like minor misdeeds, But now they feel like actual crimes, like these huge, unforgivable sins weighing him down.
So, as Velchanov's whole inner world is just crumbling under all this guilt, something strange starts to happen on the outside. A figure starts to appear, an ominous one. He keeps seeing this mysterious guy wearing a hat with a crepe mourning ribbon. The face seems familiar, but he just can't place it. You know that feeling? It's that nagging sense of recognition that you just can't pin down, and it starts to absolutely obsess him.
And this isn't just a one-off thing. Oh no, it escalates. First, it's just a passing glance on the street. Okay, fine. Then it's this weird, intense stare on Nevsky Prospect. A little later, he thinks the guy tries to approach him at a pier but gets lost in the crowd. And then the guy is just standing across the street from his apartment, openly watching him. This has gone way past coincidence. This feels like he's being stalked.
So the big question becomes, is he actually being haunted by this guy, or is he just losing his mind? This question just tortures him. His anxiety is through the roof, his guilt is eating him alive, and he genuinely cannot tell if this man is a real threat or just a ghost created by his own broken mind.
And then, the breaking point. In the dead of a hot, sticky St. Petersburg night, all that psychological tension just snaps. The mystery that's been haunting him from a distance, well, it comes knocking. And I mean that literally.
Okay, get this. He wakes up from a nightmare, goes to the window, and there he is, the man with the hat, standing across the street. But then he watches in total disbelief as the man crosses the street and walks into his apartment building. A moment later, he hears it, that quiet, chilling sound of someone trying the handle on his own unlocked door. In a rush of pure terror and adrenaline, he rips the door open. And in that instant, his brain puts it all together. The face finally clicks. It's Pavel Pavlovich Trusotsky, a name from 9 years ago, from that exact past that's been torturing him. This is the husband of his former lover, Natalia. But the man he knew back then, this quiet, respectable guy, is gone. In his place is this strange, mocking figure, dressed in mourning, smelling of booze and secrets. And that crepe ribbon on his hat, now it makes sense. It's for his wife, Natalia. Pavel tells him she died just a few months ago. The news is a total shock, and just like that, the past he's been trying to forget is no longer a memory. It's standing right there in his apartment. All right, so the next day, Velchaninov is just desperate for some answers. He goes to find Pavel at his hotel, which turns out to be this really sordid, grimy place. He's thinking, okay, maybe I can untangle this whole mess. But what he's about to discover is that the mystery is way, way deeper and more personal than he ever could have guessed.
So when Velchaninov gets to the hotel room, he finds Pavel there with a little girl. And Pavel is just being awful to her, really cruel. He introduces the child, almost as an afterthought, as his daughter, Liza.
And then Pavel says something that changes everything. He mentions her age. She's 8 years old. Just a simple number, right? But for Velchanov, that number sends an absolute chill down his spine as the gears in his mind start turning at a furious pace.
Because the dates, well, the dates don't lie. Pavel spells it out for him, almost casually. You left on the 12th of September. Liza was born on the 8th of May. And you can just imagine Velchaninov doing the horrifying math in his head. September, October, November, 8 months and a bit. The timeline lines up perfectly with his affair.
And then he really truly looks at this little girl. And he sees it. He sees himself. His own large blue eyes, the pale skin, the exact color of his own hair. There is absolutely no doubt this is his child. A daughter he never knew he had, a secret kept for 8 long years.
So later that evening, we get the final, terrifying piece of this puzzle. Everything clicks into place. Pavel shows up at Velchaninov's apartment again, and in this one scene, the entire power dynamic between these two men is about to shift completely and forever. Back in Velchaninov's apartment, Pavel just drops the act. The whole meek, grieving husband thing, it's gone. It just vanishes. And what's left is someone else entirely. A man who clearly knows way more than he's been letting on. A man who, you realize, has been playing a very, very long game.
And then comes the moment of truth. With this really strange grin, Pavel puts 2 fingers up to his forehead and says, "These are horns." It's the classic symbol for a man who's been cheated on. He knows. He's not some poor victim who just figured it out. The terrifying realization that dawns on Velchanov is that he has always known.
And right then, Velchaninov gets it. Pavel isn't just any old wronged husband. He fits this very specific psychological archetype that Dostoevsky calls the eternal husband. Think of it like this: a man who is practically born to be cheated on. It's so core to his identity that, in a weird, twisted way, he almost needs his wife to have a lover to complete his own story. And this brings us to a really chilling question. What is more dangerous, a man who's just a victim, or a man who knows he's a victim and decides to play a game of his own? Because that's where we're left. The mystery of the man in the hat is solved, but the real horror is just getting started. Now you have these 2 men, tied together by a dead woman and a secret child, locked in this terrifying psychological duel, and there's just no telling how it's going to end.